Okay, I'm outside again. I like to come outside a lot. I like to come outside quite a bit. And it's because I don't have my air conditioner. I didn't cut my air conditioner on inside yet, so. But I just like to be outside. It's a little breezy. It's nice and sunny. Anyway, I want to talk about all this stuff that they call themselves taking off the shelves. I didn't see I didn't watch the video, but I do still see titles because I haven't unsubscribed from people. I just don't click on the videos. But I do see the titles about stuff they keep wanting to take off the shelves. You know, it looked like the stuff they're trying to remove from the shelves is stuff that was kind of bad for people anyway, to be honest with you. You know, that Similac, I guess they were having this shortage on Similac. And then I hear some people that knows about this stuff really well, some ladies, say that Similac is really bad for little kids, for little babies, right? And it's the other stuff that they moving off the shelves. And it seems like everything they want to move off the shelves has not been that great for people. I noticed when they did that in 2020, I believe it was 2020, they was trying to move everything off the shelves. A lot of stuff that people like to eat. But where I was living, first of all, I didn't see any lack of food where I was, okay? But I'm going to be honest with you, I was in Palm Desert, okay? If you ever heard of Palm Desert or Palm Springs, that's in California. So I didn't really see a shortage of food. But it was a lot of people that was talking about a shortage of food. Most of the time, and this is just globally, that I noticed that I guess the government was doing, is that they was really taking a lot of stuff out of more of the urban or poor neighborhoods, okay? And even in India, when a lot of people was going out without food and there was some other stuff going on over there, it wasn't COVID, but it was some other stuff that was supposed to be going around over there. And a lot of people was without food and they were starving, they were dying. And somebody from India was saying that, I'm sorry, but these people are not dying from COVID. They're not dying in the hospitals from no COVID or so, whatever else that was going on around there. They said that they're taking food away from the stores and these people were starving out and stuff like that. And they were doing it to the more of the poor areas of India. So they're doing this to poor neighborhoods, okay? That's why I say I didn't really see that shortage of a lot of food when I was in Palm Desert. Palm Desert is more of the age, I would say like the average age in Palm Desert could be like age 50. That's the average age, and they're mostly Caucasian, okay? Palm Springs is more of a younger crowd, and it's more of a rainbow crowd, okay? If you know what I mean by rainbow. It's more of a rainbow crowd, but they still have some money on them, okay? They still have money. So it seems like a lot of times most of the food that was taken off the shelves was in more of the urban or the poor neighborhoods, okay? And they was doing this globally, not just to so-called Black Americans. If you look around the world, what they were doing, they was doing this to everybody who was considered poor, the areas that was more poor. They don't want to, I guess they don't want to use any more resources on people who lack funds like that, okay? So at this point, it's not completely about color when they do that, okay? It's all about money. They care about money for the most part, okay? For the most part. I want to say this, though. This is the main thing. All this stuff that they're doing by taking stuff off the shelves, if it's one thing, if it ain't one thing, it's another, and they always removing stuff from the shelves. They're going to cause people, it's going to backfire, I believe, unless they decide to get smarter and become so tyrannical that they barricade people's houses like they did in China. That way they can have complete control. Because what they're going to do is they're going to have people to get into their creativity more. This is what happened in 2020 when they got rid of all the masks. Okay, when they did the shutdown when everything first happened with this, COVID thing, and everybody was required to wear a mask everywhere they went, but then a lot of stores wasn't selling them right away. They were always gone, right? People got very creative. I mean, it didn't even take a week before I saw people selling face masks and making them with their sewing machines. And then they took all the Lysol and the Clorox off the shelves. I remember that too. They took all of it. And then they put a bunch of some other generic brand stuff that came from somewhere else on the shelves. Well, it didn't take long that I saw videos where people was creating cleansing wipes. You see what I'm saying? So it seems like this is going to backfire unless they come up with some other way to control people, and I think they will. I think they're going to end up locking people in their house and dragging people off away from their houses. Because by taking stuff off the shelves, the only thing you're going to do is cause people to get more into their creativity. The people who want to survive, that is, the people who, let me say, the people who are motivated to, I'm trying to find the right words. And the reason why I'm trying to find the right words, right, because I was listening to a lady, right, about a certain urban neighborhood. I forgot where it was. It was somewhere like maybe in the Midwest, I believe. But it was a certain urban neighborhood where they was taking all the food off the shelves and they just wasn't having food. And they didn't know what to do. Okay, people with that kind of mentality might not get into their creativity. They're probably going to die off, and the reason why is because there is a lack of motivation to really live. Okay, I don't want to say, like, when I say survive, I don't want to make it almost sound like animalistic survive. I mean it like it's almost like they're looking for a handout from somebody else and they can't do for themselves. They're not motivated to make any progression in life, is what I'm saying. And I'm talking about as a whole collective in that community. You might have the few people who's motivated, but those few people can't really do anything for the whole community by themselves if you don't have a collective that's motivated to really make any progress in life. And these are people who are not progressing, and they're not productive, okay? They're not productive in their mind, they're not productive in their body, they're not productive, okay? Because this lady told a story of how a pastor was noticing how food was going missing off the stores in his neighborhood. Still a so-called black pastor, okay? But he came up with the idea to grow his own food, and he got the whole church, and I guess he got the community involved, as many people as wanted to be involved, to grow their own food. And what they ended up doing is saving a lot of money. See, that's what I'm saying, as the difference is, it's not about animalistic survival stuff. It's about just being motivated, being progressive, just having that kind of mind, being more creative, just wanting to, it's like people who, you have a collective of people, because you can have one or two people that might have, problems. You might not have the wherewithal to do what some other people do. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about with somebody with a particular mental disorder or a particular developmental disorder. I don't mean stuff like that. I'm talking about a collective of people in certain neighborhoods that just seem to always want a handout. And if somebody don't give it to them, they just gonna die, or they just not gonna know they don't know what they're gonna do. Those are people who are probably gonna be knocked off anyway. And I would suggest a person who have more creativity, who have more motivation in them, who are more motivated. It could be very difficult being under a collective consciousness like that, under a collective consciousness where people just are not motivated, and you might have maybe 3 or 4 in the neighborhood who's motivated and the rest is unmotivated, and that's the collective consciousness you're around. Because when you have a majority of people that don't care, that community is going to be taken over regardless if 3 or 4 people are motivated. Okay, those 3 or 4 people are not going to be enough. Okay, so that's what I was saying. Now, I want to get into how all this stuff, how they want to take stuff off the shelves, how it can backfire, especially in the United States of America. I notice people here, this is one thing I would give credit to with the United States of America. People get creative. I see so many DIY videos. I see so many YouTube videos. Unless they just decide to get rid of YouTube, that's what's going to mess people up. Or take away people's channels that try to show you how to do stuff. Okay, because when they started raising the gas prices, people started learning how to make their own gas. It was one guy who was talking about efficient fuel and how he made it himself and it was good for cars. And I think that guy went missing. See, so when they decide to take something from you, they're greedy and they want everything for themselves. So when they decide to raise the prices sky high, when they decide to take something away from you, the one person who might want to be creative to come up with something, they go missing and they probably get killed, okay? Because it's really, these tyrants don't have to do what they do. They want complete control and they're extremely greedy. So that's why I say what they're doing is going to end up backfiring on them if they don't decide to drag people out their houses and put them in grocery stores and Walmart and all that kind of stuff, which I actually seen where that could probably happen. But there's multiple realities, so I don't like to speak that as it's going to happen because everybody's going to be in their own reality and timeline. So I don't like to say there are timelines where that stuff is already currently going on, okay? But I don't want to speak it as it's something that's going to happen in the so-called future because everybody's probably going to be on a different timeline. So I don't want to speak that into nobody's future, so-called future, because, we're in an illusion, we're in a Maya, okay? And we're in an illusion where we believe in time and we believe in space and we believe in physicality and all that stuff. And so, but there's still multiple timelines even with that, okay? So that's why I don't speak nothing into nobody's future like that. But just I've seen people are going to find ways to create healthy organic food. I just seen this with people in the United States of America. I've seen it where when they decide to take all this stuff away from people, then people start to become very creative, okay? If they decide to take all this food off the shelves, unless they got rid of all the seeds in these garden stores, then they're going to be messed up, okay? They're going to be messed up. And you know what? What people are going to do is get together and buy their own land, like buy a whole plot of land. Because what's happening is somebody say they want a garden in their backyard, right? Or they want to create a garden. What I've been hearing about people doing is these folks might find something that these people owe on their property taxes, even if it's $2. And what they'll do is they will evict that person from their house, because even if the house is paid up or if it's currently paid, they don't own the property and they still lose their house. That's why I was never into home ownership unless I can own the land. Unless I can own the property, I am not for home ownership. Like if I have an RV or something, right? Well, if somebody wants you to get off their property, you can drive on off, right? But if you're in a house that's stationary, even if it's paid off, if you're in a property that nowadays I'm seeing, even if you owe $2 or $3, they'll take your house, even if you completely paid off that house. And I've seen that. It's gotten worse now because people are getting more greedy. But I actually seen that like for a long time, okay? That's why I was never big on home ownership, because you don't own a house. You have very few people that really own a house. There's really hardly such thing as home ownership. Okay, because if you're still paying the mortgage and you don't own that property, you don't own a home. Okay, and these people saw that when they was told to get off that property and they were homeless. They saw that they weren't homeowners, okay? So the hard thing that's going to be about people who are going to be trying to get into gardening, if they don't own that property, somebody who's greedy is going to try to find something that they might have did wrong and then kick them out that house. Okay, and then where they going to put their garden? Okay, I'm just thinking of the ways where they might try to get smarter, okay? Because people have been talking about gardening, right? People been talking about gardening for years. So they already know that one solution is gardening. And they already got the backup to that solution. They already probably know what they're going to do. And what they're going to do is drag people out their houses. It's a lot of people that stay in very nice houses, but the mortgage is not paid and the property is not paid. And they're going to end up in shelters, or they're going to end up in grocery stores, or they're going to end up in Toys R Us and Walmart and all that stuff. And, just there like a doggone camp, okay? So they already ahead of it because people have been talking about gardening for years. So they already ahead of the ball game on that. Now the people who own their properties, it might be harder to kick them off, but see, these people are so wicked. These entities are so wicked. It's no telling what they're going to try to do to get what they want. It's like, it reminds me, if you know the story of Jezebel, right? I still like the Bible. I'm not a Christian. And I know a lot of these characters, especially in the New Testament, I mean, I know that they are, there are other characters that was covered up, right? But anyway, getting to the point, it's like in the story about Jezebel, how she wanted this property. No, it wasn't Jezebel, it was her husband that saw this guy with this particular property, and he wanted it. See, he's a tyrant. And see, they can go and ask, but they don't want no for an answer. They'll go and ask, but you can't tell them no. So the guy told him, no, you cannot have his land. You can't have the guy couldn't have, Jezebel's husband could not have that property, could not buy it because he didn't want to sell it. This man went back crying to Jezebel, and Jezebel sat out and she killed that man, and then her husband got everything he wanted. You see, that's what I'm saying with these entities, these tyrants. So even the people who own their own properties, they might be okay for a little while, but tyrants don't stop, okay? And so that's why I say it's going to take more than just being prepared physically for these particular entities. It's going to take more than preparing physically. That's why I said it's probably going to be 95% spiritual. And when I talk about 95% spiritual, I think people need to be on the same page too. Okay, it needs to be a lot of people with the same intention and spiritual. But just being purely physical and think you're going to prepare physically against this type of machine here, against these entities, you're going to eventually lose the battle. They might not get to you right away, but you're going to eventually lose the battle. Okay, especially if you think you're going to stay in an ego type of world where they rule it. They rule the ego world. And just being strictly physical in your ego mind, that is, in the illusion mind, you won't win against them. Eventually they will catch up with you. No matter how much you prepare, no matter if you own your land or whatever you own, eventually, if you just want to stay in a physical mindset, they're going to eventually catch up with you. Okay, especially in the United States of America. Okay, especially in the United States of America. But yeah, other than that, if they don't do that, which I know they will, but other than that, they're pushing people into their creative self that they did not tap into before. And when a lot of people tap into their creativity, what they really do is they raise the vibration. Because then people come together more. It's going to be more about coming together. People are going to come together and want to buy their own lands, right? People are going to come together and build their own stores, even if it's a little shed. Okay, because it don't need to be expensive like some of these, like Ralph's. I'm in California, so you got Ralph's, you got, what else you got? All these other stores that you got. But it don't have to be big and expensive like that. You go to like some of the countries where it's more third world, and they sell fruit and stuff all in their little stores, and it don't look like much. But people go in and out and buy a bunch of stuff. So people are going to end up coming together and buying land, and they're going to end up doing that and end up growing their own fruit and end up growing trees. But so taking stuff off the shelves is really stopping people from being so dependent on somebody else. That's what they're doing. What they're doing is they're causing people to tap into their higher mind. That's what they're doing. Because when you take something from people, then they can no longer be dependent on you, right? And then it's going to get to a point where they're not going to need a president. It's going to get to the point where they're not going to need a mayor, right? Because if you keep taking stuff from people, and what I have to give credit to the United States of America. From when I saw on YouTube, when they first did that shutdown, and they took everything off the shelves. They took a lot of Lysol, Clorox wipes off the shelves. They took little hand wipes off the shelves. They took all that Purell, those alcohol little jails off the shelves. They took a lot of stuff off the shelves, and they require you to wear a mask everywhere you went, but then the stores wasn't selling them, not even Home Depot, nowhere. You had to wear them in hospitals. I worked in a nursing home, but there were never any face mask, not even in nursing homes and stuff. But that was the fault of the owner. They didn't want to spend the money on whatever the face mask would cost, because it was other places that did have them. So that could be that particular person that runs that nursing home that don't want to use the money for it, that didn't want to use the money for it, I'll say. But it caused people to learn how to make face masks, and then they started going around selling face masks to other people, and they made money. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, is that they're going to cause people to tap into their creative abilities, and then they're going to eventually tap into their higher mind. They're going to eventually tap into their God self, because they know they can no longer depend on the system anymore, because the system, they giveth and they taketh away, right? They giveth and they taketh away. Okay, and what they're doing is they taketh away. They're taking everything away now, and it's going to cause people to tap into their God self. Okay, and it's going to put people in the higher mind, and then what it's going to eventually do is end up overturning these entities that's doing all this stuff. Okay, so I think for these entities that's going to try to get their power, to keep their power, they're going to end up taking people and locking them up, and dragging them out their houses. Okay, that's what they're going to end up doing. To try to keep their power some kind of way. Find some kind of way for people to lose their homes. That's what they're going to do. All these houses I see around here right now, if they decide to get creative, I just can see them becoming homeless, and like one day they have a house to stay in, the next day they're going to be homeless. Okay, because I know all these houses ain't paid off. And I know this property belongs to somebody else. These people not own it. They don't own this property, right? These properties. It's a neighborhood with multiple houses, right? More than likely, the property belongs to another company. In the blink of an eye, everybody could be not live in a house. Okay, that is kind of how I see they're going to try to combat people who get creative. Want to get creative and want to do for themselves and want to be self-governing. They're going to find a way for people not to have a place to stay, and they're going to be on the streets, and they're going to be so messed up in the head for not having a place to sleep and stuff, that it's going to drive them almost insane. And then they're going to find a way to come get them off the streets. Oh, you're homeless, we got to get you off the streets. And that's how they're going to take them in all these doggone places, to take them all in what you would call concentration camps, which is really just grocery stores and Toys R Us and Walmart and all that stuff. Okay. But I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I can see how they're going to try to combat people who want to be creative and be self-governing. I can see that's probably going to be their solution to stopping that, causing people to be delirious and make them homeless and hungry. That's it. And then to use their laws to get them off the street, and then throw them in a store somewhere and lock them and bolt them down. Okay. But all right, that'll be it, and I'll talk later.